It's good to see what's going to happen. My team never gets there, so it doesn't matter who I barrack for, they don't work.
He enjoys watching them kill
Kilda
them.
hasn't won since 1966.
That's the grand final.
You play games, I'm sure.
But not
Maybe.
many.
All right. Am I coming through the mics? Is that no? Maybe coming through now. I think I can hear myself coming through. There we go.
They're part of the reason Walker wins. So it's easy to follow and feel successful and feel that what is great, the world's good because you've created it.
It's not going to happen, is it? All right, we're going to try and get a start. We can. As we start today, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we are meeting today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Today we do church on land that was stolen and never ceded. Hartwell is a fully affirming community and fully committed to being a safe space for all people who are connected to this community, regardless of gender, sexuality, family background, economic situation, and regardless of how old you are, where you come from, what abilities you have, what languages you speak, what religion, spiritual path, tradition, and ethical conviction. Everybody is welcome here, and we want everybody to feel safe here. I think we're the remnant today. There's a lot of people away, so you are the more spiritual group, and so let's take a note of who's here today. And to all of you online, wherever you are also really welcome here. So well done for putting that time aside. We're going to light the Christ candle. So Rosemary, if you wouldn't mind hopping up and doing that for us. Thank you. Thank you. And can we just flick back the slide to the previous one, Bo? There's a beautiful photo. Oh, well, that's beautiful too. One more back. The start with that Barbara took of. We don't know what day that was, do we?
No.
But isn't that beautiful? It's a day when we were all quite excited and lighting candles, so which often happens with us, which is cool. But yeah, cool. So thank you, Sarah, for putting it together and putting that up there. And I didn't plan to say this, but I'll just say it, and maybe I need to say it a few times, but just there's a temptation sometimes with the acknowledgement of country and a welcoming and inclusive statement that maybe some of us have the reaction that like, oh, this is something we just get through, right? And I get that. Particularly when you're repeating something and over again. But what I've found myself doing, and you can take it or leave it, is to use it as a ritual and a kind of as a spiritual discipline. So that's what I try to do for myself in this space. So when the acknowledgement of a country is ever reading it, I just close my eyes and I try to remember the indigenous peoples that would have walked this land. And kind of bring myself into that awareness and space. And then the same with the welcoming and inclusive statement. In some ways that functions on many levels, and on a very primary level it's about making people feel welcome in a space that many people in churches that come to church don't feel welcome. So it's really intentional in that space, but it also is intentional in the sense of it's a prophetic action as well, to say to other churches or groups that would say these people can't be included. So, well, actually, we do want to include these people. So in the same way that the acknowledgement of country, I try to use it as a spiritual discipline to remind myself of those things. And then the Christ candle, which I know has been part of our tradition for a long time, but for me, if you think of these as three the acknowledgement of country is an acknowledgement of country, but it's also welcoming and honouring the ancestors, and welcoming, and the open inclusive statement is about welcoming people who are different into this space. And the Christ candle for me is also about welcoming the divine and the mysterious and the unusual into our space as well. So I think it's appropriate just to kind of remind ourselves of that. The first three parts of our service have that kind of welcoming energy and life to it, and we can kind of drop into that space. Sorry, I didn't plan to say that, but I thought I'd just mention it. So we're going to reflect on ancestors today, and I was kind of thinking about this last week, and then had a conversation with Sarah, and that was really helpful for me to bounce around a few ideas as well. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, that most of us here don't pay homage to our ancestors. Maybe you do. This might be because we don't believe in life after death for many of us, perhaps. It might also be because our modern age finds honouring our ancestors primitive. Very unhelpful word. Even if we do believe in some form of life after death, we can't imagine that we could talk to our ancestors or that we might ask for their help. Over half the world's population still believe in venerating ancestors today. And the fact that we don't do it is actually something very recent in our evolutionary history. All right? And again, when we think of ancestors, for many people around the world, it's not just humans, but animals and trees as well. So I hope I haven't lost anybody at this point in time. Just take a deep breath. Last week we remembered St. Valentine, which is a big day in our house with my girls this week, which all went smoothly. Lots of flowers that were bought. And next week is Polycarp. Very funky name. So I thought it would be useful to kind of, in this contemplative service, to kind of just reflect on the saints and ancestors, kind of sandwiched between Valentine and Polycarp. So whether you believe in literal ancestors or not, it's an opportunity for us to bring to mind friends in our past, families in our past, that you might want to bring back into this moment. Our own scriptures, Hebrews, speaks about a vast cloud of witnesses. It's a lovely image that cheers us on. And maybe you need cheering on today in terms of what might be going through your life and world and your own journey. And maybe there is someone in your past that you wish was here right now to cheer you on. Sometimes I feel like that with my dad, who's been dead for a long time. I still have dreams of my car breaking down. And I was terrible at changing tires. And I don't want to say that I'm actually still really terrible, but I just did. And often my dad, when I'm going through particularly difficult times in my life, I'll have a dream. And he's often there to help me out. But so he's someone that I often wish was around, and friends as well. So maybe there's someone in your past that you wish was here to cheer you on right now, and who knows, they might literally be here too. So we're going to have a reading soon, and then a song that I believe is a strong part of Surrey's history. This particular song. Now, is that the ancient words? I think I'm getting that right, but maybe I'm wrong. But it's a good song. So as we sing the song, if there's someone in your past that you want to commemorate, or you want to bring back into the space, feel free to come up and light a candle to symbolize that as well. So Michael, will you come up and do the reading for us, and then we'll go straight into the song, and as you feel led, feel free to come up and light a candle.
All right, it's just actually verses 1 and 2.
Yep.
So. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely. And let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For who for the sake of the joy that was set before him endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and has taken his seat at the right hand of the throne of God.
Rosemary mentioned there's a beautiful painting there that's called The Cloud of Witnesses in that room over there. So
Something like that. 'Cause that's, I don't know if that's its actual name, is it, Sarah?
Us is the name.
Sorry?
Us.
us.
Oh, yeah.
We
Yes.
named it that.
Oh, yeah.
Cloud of witnesses. That,
Self-portrait.
yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yes, that's right.
feel free, for those that haven't lit a candle, if you want to come up. Oh, gee, it's pretty full, but feel point any time in the service if you want to come up. Feel free to do that. In response to that song, let's just pause for a few minutes. If you feel like closing your eyes, you can do that. And just bring to mind perhaps faces from the past. Could be within the churches that we've been a part of. Family, friends, conversations, maybe events or things that you did with people that you might want to bring back into your space, just for a minute or two. Many indigenous cultures believe that trees and animals have subjectivity. And before we maybe dismiss this too easily, there's a strong movement in philosophy of mind, which I'm sure you all love reading, maybe, but asserts that the best explanation for the consciousness that we all have in this room as human beings is that all of life has some form of consciousness and subjectivity. There's a famous philosopher who happens to be an atheist called Thomas Nagel, made this argument in an article in the 80s. What is it like to be a bat? Was the question that he explored, that opened up that space. And the technical name in philosophy is the idea of all of life having some level of mind or consciousness is called panpsychism. Fun word to take home for the day, which means all mind. And so we can suspend judgment on this depending on what background you come from. But at a minimum, I think indigenous perspectives in this space suggest that by thinking about nature as something that is living, as something that is subjective, the hope is that we might end up treating nature with the respect that it deserves. And we could say a lot more on that. But just to bring that kind of idea into this space today, I want to read a poem by Joy Harjo. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not sure. A Native American woman who I think captures this aliveness in nature well and links it to how we might think about ancestors today. So I'll read it through once, and then I'll just pick up some parts of it again as well. So feel free to close your eyes or not. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth. How your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. Here's your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance that language is, that life is. Remember. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and the universe is you. Remember, all is motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance that language is, that life is. Remember. What are you remembering right now? Let's just pause for a minute and see what begins to bubble up for us. What do you need to remember about the past this morning and right now? Remember is to put one's members together, to remember them, things that have been separated. And communion, in many ways, is a remembering, remembering of the life and death of Jesus, but also a remembering or a coming together of different members today as part of Hartwell. Hence, as we share communion today, let's remember that the communion that we share today is because of previous members of this church and the various churches that make up the river of Hartwell, the various streams that have come together. For hundreds of years, built the different communities that we are the beneficiaries of. So let's remember them too today as we share communion together. As we come to a close, maybe take a moment to be grateful for the long line of evolutionary history that has led us to this moment. I was listening to a podcast on the way here on the Jungian life by a guy called Gary Davis. I think he's a professor at Adelaide. But our very lives and bodies is a gift right from the original stars that gave birth to all the atoms that make us up, but many rivers, many animals, many other human beings that we never know and will never know. We can be grateful for the asteroid that hit that took out the dinosaurs, because that's where the little mammal crawled out of the hole, and one of our ancestors. So, we've got a lot to be grateful for. The very life that we have is a gift of many creatures and stars that are given birth to us. And I didn't mean to say all that, but to be grateful for this long journey that's led us to have our brief moment in the sun. We can also be grateful for the many people in our past that we might have remembered today, that stood with us when we needed them, changing tires, when we had difficult moments in our lives, when we felt like we were just holding on. We needed people to hold us. We can be grateful for them. And as we close, maybe take a moment to be grateful for the many people in our past that offered us new ways of living and speaking about faith, that enabled us to express our faith the way we do today, because others were able to chart a path forward for us to walk into. Amen. We're going to close with the Shalom benediction. So, Michael, will you boom us into key for that, if that's all right?
Want me to sing it, or?
Yeah, and then we'll join you. Yeah.
Shalom to you now. Shalom, my friends. May God's full mercies bless you, my friends, in all your living and through your loving. Christ be your shalom. Christ be your shalom.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Sarah, for those beautiful images. Very moving. And thank you for those that participated as well in the service, and Bo, and for picking the music as well. I'm very grateful for that. Yes.
And blessed are the coffee makers.
Blessed are the coffee makers. Well, it depends on the kind of coffee that they make. Oh, that I'm making today. Sorry, I thought it was a general term. Oh, crush and burn. And next week is Polycarp, so bring as many fish as you can. Get it? Ah, okay.
Yes.
Poly. Yeah.
Where were you?